Hey everybody, how are you today? This is Jim from the Pain PT, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about an article I posted recently on my blog post, which is on my Facebook page and also on my website, thepainpt.com. If you haven't signed up for the blog post, go ahead and sign up if you're interested. I do put out a lot of research and things that support the work I'm doing here. So I wanted to follow up today and go over in a little bit more detail a article I posted the other day titled "Modeling the Relationship Between Attachment Styles and Somatic Symptoms with Mediating Role of Emotional Processing." And I talk already a lot about emotions, emotional processing, emotion regulation, emotional expression, awareness on this site, on this YouTube page, because it's a very important mediator and driver of somatic symptoms in the body, or we call somatization or somatic symptom disorder. We know that there's lots of evidence supporting that. So what I want to bring into the picture today is highlighting that aspect again of the emotions in relation to an attachment style. Now, an attachment style is something we learn as a child growing up with our parents, our mother and our father, and our relationship to them, and the ability to form secure attachments as a child with nurturing, with love, with a lot of acceptance. And growing up in a very good environment like that, a healthy environment, will lead to what's called a secure attachment. And that's a healthy person, basically. And a secure attachment, what they found through the research in this study and other studies, is that it leads to less emotional processing and regulation difficulties, as well as less somatization or less somatic symptoms as the person ages. And vice versa, what they found here in this study and in previous studies, which I'll go over, is they found an insecure attachment style, somebody who might be anxious or avoidant. Those insecure attachment styles, which come from childhood, which was an insecure attachment to the mother and or the father, put the person at much higher risk for emotional processing and regulation difficulties, and subsequently much higher rates of somatization and somatic symptoms in the body as the person ages. Okay, so I really want to talk about this because this is something that can be a root cause or a root driver of somatic symptoms in the body resulting from emotional deficiencies, okay, resulting from the attachment style. So what we know here is that I'm going to read some stuff from this article, from the introduction and also the results. We know that patients with somatic symptoms tend to detach from their emotions by not engaging with conscious components of emotions. Okay, limitations in emotional awareness, the inability to explain and respond to emotions are typical characteristics of individuals with somatic symptoms. Again, that's something I see very often. The emotional piece is a very important piece of the puzzle for recovery, learning how to work with emotions. Now, we also see is that this insecure attachment, okay, so the style of attachment, an insecure attachment has been linked to more somatic symptoms in the body. Okay, so an insecure attachment may play a role in emotion regulation problems, and these problems may have negative outcomes for physical and psychological health. In other words, emotion regulation problems or other sorts of dysfunctional emotion regulation can potentially play a mediating role in the relationship between attachment types and health-related problems. Okay, so again, this is an insecure attachment, like being anxious or we call avoidant. It's highly correlated to dysfunctional emotional processing and affects regulation strategies such as repression, self-blame, wishful thinking. Okay. And we also found that emotional dysregulation is an important mediator in the relationship between attachment styles and symptoms of depression and generalized anxiety. All right. And the decline in emotional awareness co-occurs with problems related to the differentiation of physical emotions and the separation of emotional arousal and somatic symptoms. Okay, so what we find here again is that recent studies have shown that patients with medically unexplained physical symptoms, which is what we're talking about here, which is TMS or somatic symptom disorder, medically unexplained physical symptoms are unable to relate their emotions to physical complaints and misinterpret the physical aspects of emotional arousal as somatic symptoms. Now, again, there's a term for this called alexithymia, which I talked about in some of my previous YouTube videos. You can look it up, which is a very real thing. And it's very much linked with somatization or chronic somatic symptoms in the body. This inability to get in touch with emotions, work with emotions in a healthy, good way, leads to somatization of these emotions in the body, i.e., somatic symptoms coming from emotions. And now we're tying in this attachment style, which brings us back to your childhood, potentially, and having insecure attachments, and that leading as a leading cause of the emotional problems, which then subsequently lead to the physical health complaints. Okay, so we have other studies showing this, that the inability to understand and express emotions is associated with immune system changes and negative impacts on health, has been considered a risk factor for psychosomatic disorders and stress-related illnesses. Now, again, psychosomatic disorders and stress-related illnesses, that's what we're focusing on here on the channel, not physical structural problems that we typically see in acute injuries. Difficulties in identifying and expressing emotions are associated with many physical health problems, such as inflammatory bowel disease, chronic back pain, physical pain disorders, tension headaches. There's also numerous studies emphasizing the impairment of emotional systems and somatic symptom disorder. These studies have shown cases of catastrophizing, rumination, emotional repression, inability to positively regulate emotion, imbalance in emotional arousal, impaired ability in emotional awareness, and impaired emotion regulation in individuals with somatic symptoms. Okay, so all related to these emotions, guys. I'm bringing you back to emotions today and throwing in this attachment. All right, so insecure attachment would be a root cause. It's something that we want to learn to work through as part of our recovery, is that we need to work with these emotions in a better way so they don't somaticize it in the body. Okay. So one of the things they found was that the anxious attachment style, which is something I had personally, very anxious personality type growing up, that is most consistently related to somatization and somatic symptoms. Okay, so both the avoidant attachment style and the anxious were related to somatic symptoms and emotional difficulties, but the anxious one was more strongly related, okay? So they mentioned here the anxious attachment compared to avoidant attachment had a stronger and more significant relationship to somatic symptoms. Very important. So in this study they went through, they did their own study here on 200 people, and they were looking again at these attachment styles in relation to emotional difficulties and somatization. And what they found here was that the data of this study was in line with other results, that the weakness in emotional processing had a significant effect on the severity of somatic symptoms. And again, they referenced that numerous studies emphasize the deficit of emotional systems in somatic symptom disorder. And that's why Dr. Sarno talked a lot about emotions, about repressed emotion coming out through the body and these somatic symptoms. Again, they found that secure attachment, growing up having secure attachment, was considered a protective factor against deficits in emotional processing and somatization of negative emotions. Okay. And what they found again in this study was that when the dominant attachments, insecure attachment style was anxiety based, is that these people had more severe somatic symptoms and deficiencies in the processing of emotion. Okay. So I think it's really important that we understand this. We can look and see the roots of where a lot of this stuff began. For many people, a lot of times has begun in childhood, first childhood events, and now we can see this attachment style, insecure attachment, can lead to emotional regulation and processing difficulties, which then leads to the somatization of these emotions in the body coming out as these physical symptoms. Okay, so I hope that makes sense, guys. I'll link the article here on the YouTube channel. And if you guys have questions, comments, put them in there. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. I really appreciate that. That really helps the channel. and I'll keep putting out good content here. If you're looking for support, you want one-to-one coaching support, or you want some group support, feel free to go to my website, thepainpt.com. You'll find more information there. You can sign up for classes. You can sign up for individual consultation and coaching as well. Thank you very much, everybody, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.